there are some predispositions that certain age groups have. Now, of course, this is a generalization, and each human being has their own specific experiences that they bring into things, and everyone's different. But there are some common traits and behaviors that we've studied as marketers that we can come to expect from different age groups that are common enough that it's a safe bet to base your marketing around in order to resonate better with different age groups. Now, the two groups that we're going to consider and compare are boomers and zillennials. Now, for this example, I'm going to classify a boomer as anyone who's between the age of 45 and 65, and a zillennial around the age of anyone who's 18 to 30. We're filming this in 2023, and so if you're watching it a little bit later, maybe those ages have changed, but this is going to be really relevant, hopefully for the next couple of years at least. Now, boomers typically have more disposable income, and so that might mean that they are going to be a better group to target if you have a more expensive offering. However, a caveat there is that they might be a little bit less brand loyal. They are willing to move for a better price or value proposition. If you can communicate to boomers that your product is going to make their life better in some way, perhaps it has some health benefits when they're getting to that certain age where those things become really important to them, or if you are offering something at just as great a value as your competitor, but you've found a way to make it cheaper through some type of innovation, then boomers are really likely to jump ship and move to a different brand. That's excellent news for small businesses who might want to compete with more heritage brands. However, they're less likely to explore when they're satisfied. So if you have a boomer who's been buying for 20 years from the same brand and they've never done them wrong, they're really unlikely to start exploring different options. And so you have to make a really clear value proposition in order for them to move on. Things like convenience, necessity, health benefits, and flexibility are commonly valued by boomers. Now, when we look at the millennials, even though they have less disposable income, they are more likely to impulse buy. And so when we think about that disposable income, just because boomers might on average have more money doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to be easier to persuade to buy than somebody who's a zillennial. I'm a zillennial, so I can say flat out that even if I can't afford something, sometimes I'm going to buy it anyway because we're just more impulsive, we're young, we have things that we value sometimes more than money. And so there's something that you need to take into account there. Zillennials are often willing to pay a premium for products and services that align with their values. Now, you're less likely to sway a boomer away from a brand that they're loyal to with something like sustainability or ethics. Of course, again, that's not true of anyone. I've met boomers who are super passionate about the environment and things like that, but it's not as common as it is in zillennials. And so if you are a small business, a woman-owned business, a person of color-owned business, or you're really passionate about paying your employees what they're worth, or all your packaging is sustainable, these are things that you can highlight to a zillennial audience that might have them be more willing to pay more. We see this all the time in clothing brands. There are clothing brands that demand a higher price point for very similar products as a fast fashion brand, but people are willing to pay that higher price because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel like, you know, I'm not buying into and supporting a company that does not have the same values as me. And so those are things that you can emphasize that will be, again, more likely to sway a zillennial crowd than it might be to sway boomers.